Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into trade wars.
Yeah, a really complex topic.
Definitely. We want to unpack, what starts them, what the effects are, all that stuff.
And why it matters, right?
Mm.
In our world today, it's pretty crucial to understand.
Exactly. Whether you're in business or just following the news. So let's jump in. What usually triggers these disputes?
Well, often it starts with disagreements over trade balances.
Mm.
One country buying way more from another than it sells back,
Right, imbalances.
or accusations of unfair practices,
Mm.
things like dumping, selling goods super cheap, maybe with government subsidies.
Dumping, okay.
And sometimes national security concerns get pulled into it too.
And the main weapon, it seems, is tariffs. How do those actually work? How do they impact people?
Tariffs are basically import taxes. So the most direct impact, higher prices for consumers.
So stuff costs more.
Pretty much. Imported goods get taxed, and retailers usually pass that cost right along to you.
And businesses, what about them?
They get hit too, especially if they rely on imported parts or materials. Their costs go up, which can make their products more expensive, less competitive.
Makes sense. Some industries must get hit harder than others, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Typically, it's the sectors that are really plugged into global trade.
Like manufacturing.
Yeah, manufacturing, agriculture is a big one, electronics too. They often face higher costs for things they need, and they might face retaliatory tariffs.
So they get hit coming and going.
Exactly. Their access to foreign markets can shrink.
And this must ripple through, well, everything. Our supply chains are so global now.
Oh, definitely. Trade wars throw a huge wrench into global supply chains. Companies spend years optimizing these networks, sourcing parts from here, assembling there.
All for efficiency.
Right. Then tariffs or trade barriers pop up, and suddenly that carefully built system is disrupted. It forces companies to scramble, find new suppliers, maybe move production. It's costly, causes delays.
Which makes you wonder, do these trade wars actually achieve what they set out to do? Do the countries initiating them get what they want?
That's a really important question. And the evidence often suggests not really.
Oh.
Yeah, any sort of short-term benefit for, say, a specific domestic industry tends to be outweighed by the broader economic damage. Plus, retaliation is almost guaranteed.
So it often backfires.
It can, yeah. The long-term economic or political goals are rarely fully met this way.
And this isn't a new phenomenon, right? We've seen trade wars before.
Oh, absolutely. History's got plenty of examples. The Smoot-Hawley tariffs in the U.S. back in the 1930s.
During the Great Depression.
Exactly. Many historians think those tariffs actually made the global depression much worse. It's a stark reminder of the potential negative consequences.
So how did the big companies, the multinationals, handle this kind of instability?
They have more options, usually. They might shift production to countries not involved in the dispute or diversify their supply chains so they're not reliant on one place.
Lobbying, too, I imagine.
Lobbying for exemptions, yes. Their size gives them a flexibility that smaller businesses just don't have.
If a country leans into this long term, this kind of protectionism, what are the potential long-run effects?
Well, sustained protectionism can really dampen an economy. It tends to reduce competition, which can stifle innovation.
Makes sense. Less pressure to improve.
Right. And it can lead to inefficiencies overall. Plus, it strains international relations, making future cooperation harder.
So if escalation is so damaging, how can countries, sort out their disagreements without going full trade war?
There are mechanisms. Diplomacy is key, obviously. Bilateral talks, multilateral negotiations.
Using organizations like the WTO.
Exactly. The World Trade Organization has rules and dispute settlement processes designed for this. Open communication, transparency, they're vital.
Okay, one last area. Does this affect all economies the same way? Say, emerging versus developed ones.
That's a good point. Emerging economies can often be hit harder.
Why is that?
They're often less diversified, maybe more dependent on exporting specific goods. So tariffs or a drop in global demand can have a much more severe impact compared to larger, more resilient developed economies.
Right. So, to quickly recap, trade wars often start from friction over trade practices or balances. Tariffs mean higher prices for you and trouble for businesses. They disrupt global supply chains significantly.
And achieving the original goals is tricky. Historically, they've often caused more harm than good.
Which brings us to a final thought for you, the listener. Despite all these downsides we've discussed, protectionist impulses clearly stick around.
They really do. So considering how interconnected everything is now, what do you think are the biggest challenges we face in trying to avoid future trade wars?
Mm.
How can we foster more stable, cooperative global trade? It's worth thinking about all the different angles involved.